They call it virtue. The women living under it call it a cage. From wives caught in the blast radius to girls locked out of school overnight, this is the hidden cost of Taliban power. The first strike. August 5th, 2009, night over South Waziristan. A predator circles, hunter's eyes in the sky. 2 missiles fall toward a mud-walled home where a man said to command tens of thousands of fighters is resting. He survives the blast. His wife does not. This film follows those wives' stories, not to linger on final breaths, but to expose the machinery that put them in the crosshairs. Because in the Taliban's world, marriage isn't just about love or faith. It's currency. It buys alliances, status, and sometimes a measure of protection until the protection fails and the blast radius closes in. So before we talk about strikes and funerals, we have to talk about how marriage itself became a weapon. Let's step into the marketplace where power is measured in wives. Brides for status. To understand that marketplace, rewind to the late 1990s. Afghanistan was splintered by war, and a movement calling itself the Taliban promised order on their terms. In their hands, marriage became policy, and polygamy, permitted in Islam if a man treats wives equally, returned as a public badge of piety and power. Leaders collected spouses the way commanders collected fighters. Even the movement's founder, Mullah Omar, was said to have at least 3 wives. His second reportedly just 17. He framed multiple marriages as a fix for a country with too many daughters and not enough men after years of conflict. The math didn't back him. Men actually outnumbered women in Afghanistan. On paper, Afghan law tried to set guardrails. Under the 1977 Civil Code, a man was supposed to prove equal treatment and financial capacity, secure court permission, and inform a prospective bride that he was already married. Marriage contracts could even include a clause letting a first wife seek divorce if he broke those conditions. In reality, only a small educated minority could use those rights. Poorer women feared losing their children. Custody often shifted to the father's family once boys turned 7 and girls 9, and the stigma of divorce could last a lifetime. Disclosure rules weren't enforced either. Roughly a third of men failed to tell a second bride they were already married, so the system endured. Commanders paraded second and third marriages as rank. Poorer families traded daughters into these arrangements to survive. And wives, first and second alike, learned to live inside the deal. It was a quiet kind of prison, until the war barged in and the prison turned lethal. Death from above. By 2009, the war had learned a new trick. It could find you at home. Coordinates replaced front lines. A hum at 10,000 feet replaced the knock at the door. In Pakistan's tribal belt, the numbers told a grim story. 68 U.S. strikes from 2004 through 2009, with 32 in that year alone, most of them over South Waziristan. 15 of those hunts zeroed in on one man's turf. His name was Baitullah Mehsud, accused mastermind of suicide bombings across Pakistan, suspected in Benazir Bhutto's assassination, and commander of an army that could swell to 20,000. Islamabad posted a bounty in rupees. Washington put up $5 million and quietly added his name to a list of men the CIA was authorized to kill. In South Waziristan, a place so remote even Pakistani soldiers struggled to move, the chase narrowed to one family home. Night, August 5th, 2009. Mehsud is reportedly on a rooftop at his father-in-law's house, a drip in his arm for diabetes and kidney trouble, when a predator's crosshairs settle. 2 missiles arc in. The blast shreds the upper rooms. When the dust clears, his young second wife is dead, along with relatives and guards. Children are among the wounded. Mehsud, somehow, is still breathing. 18 days pass. Rumors, denials, whispered updates. Then the call to newsrooms. He's gone. His injuries finally finishing the job that night began. But the arithmetic of that strike never balanced. The wife whose life ended instantly was about 27. She didn't choose the war, yet the war chose her because she shared a roof with its architect. Proximity became a death sentence, and she was not the first or the last. Drone warfare collapsed the space between the battlefield and the bedroom, turning family compounds into targets and wives into collateral proof that power radiates danger. A year earlier, in North Waziristan, another name would learn that lesson in the most personal way: the Haqqanis. We'll go there next. 6 missiles, 1 family. Rewind to September 8, 2008, North Waziristan, at the edge of Miram Shah, where the Haqqani family kept a compound wrapped around a madrasa called Manba Ulam. In the 1980s, Jalaluddin Haqqani trained mujahideen there, once a prized U.S. asset who collected CIA cash and the admiration of Congressman Charlie Wilson, who called him goodness personified. By 2008, that same network was America's enemy, accused of some of the deadliest attacks in Afghanistan. Just after dusk, the sky answered with fire. A U.S. drone volleyed 6 missiles into the compound. When the smoke thinned, the count was devastating. 23 dead. Among them, at least 1, by some reports 2, of Jalaluddin's wives, his sister, his sister-in-law, and 8 grandchildren. 5 al-Qaeda figures were also killed. In seconds, a family lineage and a militant roster were cut down in the same courtyard. The strike exposed a brutal equation that rarely makes headlines. Wives become targets not because of what they've done, but because of what their husbands are. In a movement where marriage cements alliances and multiplies heirs, a leader's home is part barracks, part nursery, part council chamber. That blurring of private and military life pulls women into the blast radius. For the Haqqanis, polygamy wasn't romance, it was strategy. Multiple marriages bound tribes, brought in dowries and networks, and produced sons who could be groomed into commanders. But strategy has a cost. On that night in Dande Darpa Kel, mothers and children died alongside men the CIA considered high-value targets. Was the kill list satisfied? Perhaps. Was the price purely military? Never. That night didn't end at the crater's edge. In the days that followed, grief hardened into vows. The network would answer, not in statements, but in gunfire. The war had come into their home. They would carry it back out. We'll pick up with the retaliation next. War never forgets. By the next day, the Haqqanis had their answer. Fighters fanned out from Miram Shah and hit Pakistani military posts along the outskirts. A warning shot that grief in this family wouldn't end at a funeral. The strike that killed wives and grandchildren had opened a vein, and the network moved to make someone bleed for it. Washington answered from the sky. On February 18, 2010, a drone found Mohammed Haqqani, one of Jalaluddin's youngest sons, and killed him in Dande Darpa Kel. Even Pakistani intelligence sources admitted he wasn't a key operator. The missile was thought to be meant for his more active brother, Sirajuddin. The surname was enough to put him in the crosshairs. 2 years later, August 2012, another son, Badruddin, died in a drone strike. Piece by piece, the family that Washington once praised in the 1980s as anti-Soviet heroes was being dismantled by Washington's new war. In the space of 4 years, Haqqani women, children, and then sons were pulled into the same cyclone that their patriarch helped spin. Because here is the uncomfortable truth. Even as coffins multiplied, commanders kept taking new brides. Marriage cemented alliances, showcased wealth, and promised sons who might one day carry a rifle with the family name stitched to it. That promise cost real money and pushed men toward the kind of fundraising that corrupts a movement from the inside. We're about to step into that ledger. The price of a wife. Open the ledger. In Afghanistan, marriage isn't just a ceremony, it's an invoice. Even decades ago, a groom could be on the hook for more than 10,000 Afghanis plus mountains of food and firewood for the bride's family. The price tag turned daughters into lifelines for struggling households. Fast forward to today. In 2025, one family demanded over 2 million Afghanis, around $28,000, for their daughter's hand. When the suitor begged to pay in installments, they refused. Days later, the couple swallowed poison, she first, he at her funeral. Love met a bill nobody could pay. Some provinces have tried to cap the costs, but caps don't fill empty pockets. For poor men, the math is brutal. No money, no marriage. For fighters and commanders, the solution has often been to raise funds by any means. Drug routes taxed, businessmen shaken down, resources siphoned. Multiple wives become proof of rank, a public flex that needs a steady cash flow. The rot grew obvious enough that in January 2021, Taliban leader Hibatullah Akhundzada issued a decree warning members against taking additional wives without permission. He said the practice was dragging them into corruption and illegal schemes, and handing critics a weapon during sensitive negotiations. Translation: the wedding spree was staining the brand. But money trails don't end at banknotes. They end at doors. Intelligence services followed lavish spending to real addresses, then circled coordinates on a map. Missiles did the rest. That's how a habit sold as piety became a hazard for everyone under the same roof. Wives who never ordered the strikes, never skimmed the profits, still died in the blast because the budget for prestige ran through their homes. And this is the pivot the Taliban rarely admit. They tell the world their rules protect women. Yet the economy of marriage they built and flaunted keeps putting women in the crosshairs or chaining them to debts.